You define the 21st century as the century of empathy, right? And I think, is that linked to creativity? What do you mean by this? What is the century of empathy, Arianna?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's really great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love the whole spirit of the place. And thank you for getting up early to get here. I just think if you look at the world around, it's like a split screen world. And depending on what you focus on, you can be incredibly pessimistic or incredibly optimistic. And you can focus on all the explosions of cruelty and lack and unemployment and austerity, or you can focus on what is being born. And I think that what is being born is going to be grounded in empathy, in our realization that we are all connected. And so in the way we are all connected through technology, we are also connected in a human way. And if we don't acknowledge that and base our decisions on it, we are going to be in major trouble. I'm optimistic. I believe that technology is actually helping here, provided, and we can talk about that more, we learn to disconnect from it in order to connect with ourselves and come from that deeper place of wisdom and empathy. So for me, that's the one provided. You know, that's what I call the snake in the Garden of Eden. You know, we have this Garden of Eden of technology, hyperconnectivity, but if we don't learn to disconnect from it, to recharge, we call it unplug and recharge. We have a section on HuffPost. You know, the way we plug our devices to charge them, we don't really realize we have to unplug ourselves to recharge us. It's like it's absolutely the same principle. It's like if you don't plug your device, it will be dead in the morning. If you don't unplug yourself, you'll be dead, maybe not in the morning, but...
But Arianna, this is said by, if I'm correct, a woman who uses to have 4 BlackBerries with us, with her every day, right?
I still do.
You still do?
Yeah. But you see, that's the whole point. I am hyper-connected. I run a 24/7 news organization. I'm not saying go and live in the mountains or by the beach. I'm just saying unplug for however long you need. For me, it's like 7 to 8 hours sleep at night. That requires making certain decisions. Like last night, I would have liked to have stayed up later with my friends, but I didn't. I went to bed. And so this morning, I'm rested. You know, I'm happy to be here with you. I'm not dragging myself. You know how often do we wake up feeling like, oh my God, no, I have to get up, you know. It's like, that should not be the norm. It will occasionally be the exception. We are all going to have to deal that. You have twins that may keep you awake, they may be sick, you know, I may have a deadline, I haven't met, whatever. But as a matter of course, people do not really take care of unplugging.
So what are you saying? That technology eats our time, and you are trying to remind us that we are human beings somehow, and that there is a sort of clock that we need to...
Yeah, I'm actually saying
this importance
even
of sleep
more.
is something surprising, because, I mean, you don't seem to be a person sleeping a lot. With all
You
what
know
you do,
what? It's like
obviously you achieve things, so...
Well, here's what is fascinating. There is now an enormous amount of medical evidence about the connection between sleep and health, you know, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, not to mention all the stress diseases. But I'm now studying athletes. You know that athletes now have what they call a pre-game nap.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there is I was at ESPN last week. There is an enormous amount of science now behind how can you be in the zone. And napping, which is supposed to be a thing that babies do, or kind of people who are not so excited about life or don't have as much to do, that can be the difference between winning and losing.
Right. Let's go back to that.
He's going to have a nap now. He's going to leave us.
It sort of changes the pace a little bit. But so to go back to that, I have another question to ask you immediately after, but I would like to start with our masochistic friend here, Iain. Iain, my question is very simple. You know, you have been extremely successful in creativity. When Arianna came up, you know, just 10 minutes ago, she reminded you about a couple of successes you had. So clearly, as a creative, you're a successful guy. You seem also to be a happy guy. 2 kids, a wife, life's going good. Why the hell do you decide to go into Google to deal with technology in the way you do and bring creativity to us?
I have no idea. No, the serious answer is, I think that the point about collaboration is is a really vital thing that's driving everything. That the whole creative process now has to be about collaboration. And what I was doing at agencies before was trying to, I guess, sort of introduce an engineering culture into a very highly creative culture and introduce some of the principles of that. And one of the big principles of that is working together, and it's about sharing. And that's it's funny because when you sort of said, "Oh, you're the guy behind," also I said, "No, I'm not. I'm one of the people that did one of the things in that thing," and I'm really uncomfortable being pointed at in that way, because I think, if you look at who made that thing happen, there was a huge team of people. And I think that's something that, even in shows like this, the creative teams and the creative directors are still the ones that get all the praise and all the glory. And I think that fundamentally that's wrong. And so I've been trying to change a creative culture by introducing engineering culture, and that's really tough because the creative culture has been about individual creators getting all the glory and the success, and they don't want to let other people in to mess with their stuff. Whereas I think if you've so Google's almost a mirror image of that. It's a kind of engineering-driven culture that's looking to welcome creative people into it. And my suspicion, and I hope this is right, is that engineers are much more willing to let other people into the process to collaborate with them. So I'm looking at how we can introduce collaboration and creativity from that way round rather than that way round. And I suspect it's going to be easier, more fun, and more fulfilling.
That will lead me immediately to a question to Arianna. I think it's an important point because, and the question will come in a second. At Google, we say we love to measure, right? So, when we search is about measuring results of something, and we introduce things like videos advertising you can skip and decide to watch, and you pay only if you don't skip. So we are very data-driven. But clearly, there are some elements of measurements of success that are difficult to measure with pure ROI. So my question to you, Arianna, is you clearly have to take risks very often. In what you do, you have to take stances. Okay. How do you measure success? What is success for you? How do you measure it?
Well, first of all, I agree with you about the importance of metrics in everything. But I think for me, it's about metrics and magic.
Metrics and magic.
Yes, you got to combine the two. It's not just about metrics. And the same goes with life. I think, in fact, that women have to take the lead here, if you don't mind my saying so, in helping our whole culture redefine success. Because men have defined success in a way which implies driving yourself into the ground, getting, to the top, because the top is supposed to be the place you want to be. It's like, I'm tired of this statistic that only 18 women out of the 500 are CEOs. Why do we think that being a CEO is the best thing in life? When did that come from? It's like the idea that you have to have, how many people do you have reporting to you? Because that's a measure of success. Really? For some people, it could be a nightmare. So I think for me, first of all, what is success? We need to own the fact that we need to define our own success. And it has to revolve around what we love. Ultimately, it's like, what do I love? What makes me happy waking up in the morning? Now I'm going to spend my life doing that. And it may be something that our culture may not define as success.
Right.
And that is key. And that also implies that success cannot dominate, our definition of success and getting there cannot dominate everything without enjoying the journey. That ultimately it has to be about the journey. Success is not just about the destination.
Success is about the journey. That's nice. Please prepare for questions, because in 2 minutes I will start going around to ask you.
I think
to build on this, Iain.
On the kind of metrics thing, I think it might just be because guys are obsessed with size. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
We're obsessed with science.
With size. Size.
Size.
Yeah.
Oh, you sure you want to get into that, really?
But, no, but you know what they say, it's not size that matters, it's what you do with it.
But we get told this the whole time, but still, but we were talking earlier about this, and
Can I try to put it instead of size, short term to long term? Is there something in what you say that or it's even worse, maybe? Sorry, I'm getting into uncharted things.
So, we were talking earlier about you asked me a question about measuring success and metrics around campaigns, and I was like, well, you know what? In reality, and this is doing down because I think metrics are vitally important. But when you've done something that's really successful, you can feel it. You don't need numbers to tell you that it's successful. You can just feel that something's changing and something's happening, and it's great to have the numbers to kind of back it up. But it's almost like when you have to go hunting for numbers to prove that it was a success, you've kind of already failed.
Interesting point. Let's go. This brings me to another quote from you, Arianna. You said that talking rather than listening is one of the issues we currently have in society, right? And I think you were at Davos when you insisted on the importance of listening, and if people were listening more to each other. Am I right? Is there something around this as well?
Well, it's actually at the heart of HuffPost. At the heart of HuffPost is participation and engagement, and not just talking to our readers. And that's why from the beginning, I insisted on pre-moderating comments, because I wanted to have a civil environment. I didn't want trolls and ad hominem attacks to take over the conversation. And that's really paid off, through a combination of an algorithm that we call Julia, the developer's former girlfriend.
Oh, great.
Julia is now being run by Helena, who is his current girlfriend. Divine
she not
justice.
Jealous?
No, she loves controlling Julia. So anyway, but basically with the help of Julia plus human moderators, we've now about 160 million comments since we launched. And that's like part of what is very valuable to us, that we are listening. And commenters are talking to each other. 70% of comments are in response to each other. They're a conversation. And our streaming network that we're launching in August is all based on engagement. The viewer is at the center. Everybody now talks about listening. It's the new thing, right? And mostly it means we have the show, and at the end, we say, oh, here's a tweet from somebody in North Dakota. It's like an afterthought. For me, listening and a conversation has to be at the center of what we're doing, not just an afterthought. So even when we're doing long-form investigative journalism, like our 10-part series on the lives of returning vets that won us the Pulitzer, each of these ended with a call to the community to send us videos, to send us their own stories. So for us, nothing is complete without a call to the community to participate, to be heard, so that we can listen, not just talk.
And create that interaction.
Create that interaction in everything.
And I have immediately another question, because I was listening to you, and you told me before it would be nice because, Carlo, you have an accent, meaning I'm Italian, you have an accent as well, you are Greek, you work in the US. Technology is said to be one of the big enablers of globalization. For you and for you, Iain, coming from Scotland, now working in New York, how important are the roots you have coming from Greece and your international element in the life you live today? Is it, something that comes with you, and is it important to you?
I think it's very important. If my mother, who's a key part of everything I am, was somebody who could not have an impersonal relationship. She, if you went to the farmer's market or to a department store with her, she would start by making a connection with the shop assistant, finding out about her, listening to her. So for her, there was nothing impersonal. The FedEx man would come to the house to deliver a package. She would say, come and sit down, I just baked something. So she had that timeless rhythm, which we've lost, but it's just kind of incredibly precious. And that, in fact, before I launched the Huffington Post, I had my own little site called Arianna Online. And my mother was doing a column that we called Ask Yaya, which is the Greek for grandmother. And people, she could not type. She would sit at the kitchen table and write the answers on yellow pads. And we would transcribe them. People would ask her anything about their love lives, about work, about anything. So I was brought up. I mean, sometimes it could be infuriating. You wanted to go and buy some broccoli at the farmer's market, and it would be like an hour-long journey of talking to everyone. But now that she's gone, unfortunately, I kind of really appreciate what that brings to our lives and how often we just do everything by rote. And we don't even, if they ask you, so who sold you the broccoli? You know, you couldn't even identify them in a police line because you did not connect them. You were probably on your iPhone while you were paying for the broccoli. And, you know, the idea that by multitasking we are saving time is one of the things that we need to reassess.
Multitasking, we are saving time, Iain. What do you think of that?
I don't know. A couple of years ago, I did Adbusters magazine used to run this thing called Mental Detox Week, where you basically say you're not going to use a screen for a week. And I did my best. I almost managed to do it. But I cut it out almost everywhere I could for an entire week. And it's amazing what changes in your life when you do it. And like I say, I wouldn't advocate giving it all up because it's not technology's fault. It's us learning how to use it better. But it's amazing what you see when you take it away. Like I was sleeping differently, I was consuming books differently. Like the amount of time when you're going through a book and it's like, oh, that sounds interesting, and you go over here and you look a thing up on Wikipedia, and 5 minutes, like, oh, I should get back to reading the book. It's like, so actually multitasking maybe saves some time, but it also just fragments attention in this kind of really kind of confusing way that I don't think helps to kind of get to very pure thoughts.
So you say we have to do that quickly because, like with drugs, if you get addicted, then the sevrage is very difficult, right? But Arianna, another quote from you before we go to questions. I think you talked about recently about attention disorders, right? And the difficulty we have to listen because of the level of stimulus we are in. How are you defining that?
Well, I see it really with children. I have 2 daughters in college, but I was talking to Mark Reed, from WPP, and he said he has a son who is 2, and he said he wakes up in the morning and says, "Daddy, iPhone." And he says on Sunday, his son, goes into bed with his mommy and daddy, and instead of cuddling, he wants to play with the iPhone. And, we have to watch that. We may think it's cute, but it's not cute. No, it's like it's just dangerous, so and as a result, we have an epidemic of children on attention deficit disorder medications. I just do not believe that so many children need to be on that. I'm not saying some children shouldn't be on it, but the epidemic of attention deficit disorder medications and antidepressants. I don't know if that France consumes more antidepressants than any other country. Did you know that?
I'm French. I shouldn't.
Vous êtes français? I thought you were Italian.
Non, ma mère est française.
Anyway, you guys, the French, gave us croissants, champagne, and afternoon sex.
Right. Well, not so bad.
If you are depressed, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Great.
So I'd just like to add to the sort of I have two nearly 3-year-olds. They love the iPad. It's like constantly, can we have the iPad? And again, it's about this learning thing. And the strangest thing, I watched them the other day in one of the times when they had it, and they don't have any sense of waiting for anything. It's like everything they consume is on demand. So they watch video on Netflix. They do this, and it's like, you can't have that now, and they don't understand the notion of not having it right now, and it's incredible. And even to the point where they were playing a game, and instead of going through to the next level of the game, they'd finish a level and then come out and change to a different game. So it's not like it's so just like, and I'm sitting there going, well, should I teach them about waiting for things? Should I teach them about the old world when you had to kind of sit? It's like, it feels really weird to teach them about a kind of a retrograde piece of technology, but at the same time, I think I need to teach them something, and I think that's, I really think what you're saying about people learning how to be the master of technology is so important, because right now I think we're all just kind of running wildly into it and consuming more and more of it all the time without asking ourselves questions.
Right, and I think it's not about teaching them about retrograde technology. It's not like saying you have to wait until 8 a.m. to watch Sesame Street, but it's more about reminding them. We almost don't really have to teach them because it's inside them, but allowing them the space to say, this is time to be with Daddy. Just the two of us. We're going to be in the park, or we're going to be somewhere where there are no screens. So,
what, the park? Like outdoors? We've been there. It's okay.
Once, right?
And oblige them to calm down. So, questions. I think, does anyone have a question? Yes. Thank you.
Tell us who you are and what you do and how much sleep you got last night.
I'm not also what you ate this morning.
I'm Laura Munton from Getty Images.
Thank you. We have a great partnership with you.
We do, yeah. And 7.5 hours sleep.
Perfect.
Juice, croissant, yeah.
No morning sex.
So I just wanted to ask if you'd managed to find some way of filtering the amount of information and the amount of data and the expectations that technology brings, because obviously both of you are sort of massive people with asking a lot of you. And I think, switching off's all very well, but it's the backlog of demands, I think, that scares us and is why we stay on most of the time. And I haven't found a system, or I'm looking for clues as to filter out, what's important and how to manage that.
No, but a very, very important practical question. You're right. Often it is the fear that if we don't catch up, then we're going to be overwhelmed. That keeps us constantly connected. Although I heard an extreme case yesterday of someone who literally sleeps with his iPhone on. So when an email comes in, he gets an alert and wakes up and answers it, and then goes back to sleep. I mean, that is truly that is pathological. But it just shows the extreme of wanting to deal with something in real time, right? For me, the key thing is starting the day with what are the 3 things I must get done today, and learning to live with incompletions. Because I find that the fuller your life, the bigger your life, the more you do, the more incompletions you will have to live with at the end of the day. There's no way, absolutely no way, that you're going to complete everything. So as long as in my case, as long as I complete the right things, because very often if we live from our inbox, we just react. And we don't act on the base of what we consider the most important things. And if you look at all the great visionaries who are changing our world, whether it's Steve Jobs, as he said to Walter Isaacson, it was the times when he learned to do Zen meditation, quieten his restless mind, that he was able to hear the whispers and get to the next thing. Bill Gates, spending a year in a secluded cabin. You hear Archimedes. I love the story of the Greek philosopher who was in the bathtub having a relaxing bath when he had the eureka moment that changed so much around science. So for people here in Cannes who are all about creativity, creativity needs quiet time. Creativity needs solitude. And then it needs collaboration. I completely agree with you. But you also need time to kind of plant the seeds, let them get to harvest time. It's not going to be overnight.
Creativity and collaboration?
I got two answers to your question. The first one is quit your job and go to a new job. Like, it immediately quietens down and you get this nice quiet period at the beginning before everyone knows your email address. And the second one is just don't live in your inbox. It's like a lot of people, they leave email running the whole time and it's always there. And the times when I've managed to actually there's a great thing, I think it's from someone at IBM, where they said email is just like a game of Tetris, and it's just, and it's so true. You just get this thing. You're never going to beat email. There's no final thing. But the only times I've ever got close to beating email, it's when I go into offline mode when I'm on an aeroplane and just literally just plow through everything and just go at it. And I think in that behavior, you can switch your email into offline mode, nothing new's coming in, and you just plan to beat it. And just the feeling of having everything in a folder and nothing in that empty inbox thing is just amazing. And you might only get it 3 or 4 times a year, but it just it feels like you've completed Tetris.
Yes. So I'll start here and then come to you. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Mafucci with Wonderman, and I have a question actually for Iain, and it's regarding, you mentioned the engineering culture. What are the 1 or 2 primary attributes of that engineering culture that you think could have the most influence on a creative culture?
And I think it's different in different creative cultures, but I think the one that I see is a shift from it being my idea to being our idea. And there's a point in the process where even if someone's the inspirational person that came up with the seed of it, they have to be generous with that idea and go, right, it's everybody's idea now, and I trust you to be better at making this thing come to fruition than I would be. Whereas in a lot of cultures, it's like they want to control it, they want to own it, and they want to be the person that sees the vision all the way through. So I think that ceding control is hugely important. And a second one is bringing the making closer to the thinking. So it's prototyping earlier. It's not just thinking about the idea in isolation. It's starting doing much faster in the process.
Arianna, on control, on being in control, do you have
On being in control, I think that some of the best things happen when you allow things to happen, and when you allow, the collaboration. I love what you said about moving the making closer to the thinking. And it's really the combination of the best kind of project management, which is you start when something has to be completed and work backwards. And then you kind of honor those deadlines, because then you can relax and you can create within the deadlines. We have deadlines. We're launching an app that I'm really excited about called GPS for the Soul, that you'll download on your phone. It will give you a stress sensor, heart rate variability, and then you program it with the things that help you course correct. Pictures of your children when they are young and unproblematic. Music, breathing exercises, meditation exercises, whatever it is. Now, it's an incredibly complex process, many stakeholders, and it's both basically meeting deadlines, but also allowing the creative space in which things can get better and ideas can flourish, and listen to each other, because you don't know. That's part of our culture. Is the intern who is there for 2 months may have a fantastic idea, and you have to create a space in which that idea can surface and be implemented. The people so-called in control do not have a monopoly of good ideas.
My question's for Iain over here. Ben Lilly from McCann. I was wondering how your idea or definition of creativity is perhaps changed in your shift to Google, because I feel like in advertising we actually have a very narrow idea or definition of creativity, and we're fortunate. The addiction is you can get a lot of wins each day because you can have a lot of ideas each day, but in a very narrow range of reference, whereas I imagine what you're doing now, the ideas need to be bigger and the wins are perhaps slower because the deadlines and timelines are much slower on actually making your big ideas happen.
I think the opposite is actually true. You might be surprised to hear that. I think, the speed that I've seen at Google is incredible, and people have an idea and something starts getting made almost immediately. And in agencies, I found there was so much time spent in the client approval process, in the concepting phase where nothing's actually happening, and it was just like spinning and spinning. There's so much wasted time. Whereas at Google, it feels like there's almost zero time, and it feels like everyone the whole time is on maximum burn, and I don't know quite how people deal with it, but I'll figure it out, or I won't. I think this app might be a good thing for me to have.
I'll send you a beta version.
Perfect. But yeah, I think, you know, agencies think that they're quite quick, but I think when you've seen the other side, you're like, actually, they're quite slow.
Toby Horry from Dare. I suppose connected to that point, actually, about time. Most creative agencies measure themselves in terms of how they're paid by clients in time. And I think that runs completely counter to a lot of what we're talking about in terms of collaboration and the way ideas work nowadays. Do you have any ideas, either from Google or from HuffPo or from Widens or anywhere else, about how agencies can measure themselves differently and be remunerated differently in order to actually take advantage of what's going on, rather than being restricted to fucking timesheets, as it's known in the company?
You know, I think when you've set up a certain way from the beginning to operate in that way, it's almost impossible to reverse out of it, because that's how you've conceived of everything. I think if you were very small and lean, everyone talks about getting paid by results, but that takes a huge amount of confidence on both the client and the agency side. I think it should be doable now. Like, I think we should be at a stage in the evolution of the industry where, if you were confident and you worked it out in the right way with clients, that's exactly what we should be doing. And I guess you knew that answer already, right? I have nothing new. Sorry.
Arianna, when you, or maybe if you want to go back to one thing, you say GPS of the soul. You don't say GPS of the brain, neither GPS of the heart. And as I imagine that you don't use words by accident, why do you choose GPS of the soul instead of heart or brain?
A very good question. I actually want to remind us that we have a soul, which we forget, and whether people are religious or not is irrelevant. You know, it's not a matter of doctrine or religion. It's a matter of fact, in my opinion. And I wrote a book about that in the 90s, which nobody read, so don't worry about it. It was called The Fourth Instinct, and the theme of it was that we have three instincts that everybody talks about: survival, sex, and power. You know, they may give them different names, but most biologists and psychologists try to explain human behavior based on these three instincts, and you can't. You literally cannot explain human behavior without the existence of a fourth instinct, which I call the fourth instinct, but it's really the soul, which is the instinct that drives us to empathy and meaning and transcendence and altruism. If you read human history, why the hell were people putting their own lives at risk in the Second World War to save Jews in Europe? People that didn't even know. You know, the first three instincts cannot explain it. There's something else going on. And so I think, for me, calling it GPS for the soul already is a kind of unconscious reminder that there is something else going on in life beyond our deadlines and clearing our emails and being on point for all our life's tasks. And, you know, I speak as somebody who is very disciplined. You know, I've written 13 books. I never have missed a column deadline. So I'm not speaking about becoming a space cadet. I'm just saying that you're going to be more productive, I promise, if you actually make time for what is considered or maybe seen as perhaps unproductive. You know, the time for the machinery and time for the garden. Whatever form it takes for each person, that's where the GPS for the soul is going to be based on your own guides. It's you're the only person who knows what's going to do it for you. And you're going to be changing the guides and sharing guides and going to the Google Hangout, which I love, and sharing playlists. We're calling them playlists. And I played mine on Monday when I spoke at the Palais here. And people coming up to me saying, oh, I like that picture that you had, or that picture of your kids was sweet. I said, yeah, you can take the picture of my kids if you think they're cuter than yours. That's fine, not a problem. Whatever at that moment helps you get into the zone, the center, that place that we've all been in. Everybody has been in that place from which you feel you can do anything. There's a certain peace, a certain trust. But most of us don't live in that place. So the purpose of the GPS for the soul is really to increase the amount of time we spent in that place.
I just have a quick. I only had 5 hours sleep last night, so I just thought of an answer to your question that's better than the one I originally gave. So one thing we really wanted to do in an agency I worked in the past was we joked about it, and I actually think there's something really interesting in it, which was to take 3 ideas to a client, but have them in different boxes. So one marked £5,000, one marked £50,000, and one marked £500,000. And you basically say, which of these 3 ideas would you like? And then they pick one, and then you just burn the other 2 boxes. So they never know what they could. Of course, it's the same idea in all 3 boxes, but I think that they're just like challenging. Yeah, just challenging people to think about working different, and maybe being playful about the way that you talk about the serious issue of billing, and you know what I mean, just really like messing with it, because it's so ingrained. This, you pay for people's time to think about your problem, and it doesn't. That's not the smartest way of getting to great stuff, for sure.
I love this. I see Janet Bailey's here, who is our publisher. Janet, that's a good idea. 3 boxes, same idea, different pricing. It seems to me like a great half-post monetization plan.
Hi, Emily Tan from Campaign Asia. I have a question for both of you. How do you balance? Because there's a need to be in touch so you have fuel for ideas, and then you need to create space. So do you do it instinctively, or do you set rules for yourself? And Arianna, how do you turn off the brain so you fall asleep at night? Because I can lie in bed and just nothing happens.
Yeah, very good point. Well, first of all, we have tons of suggestions for that. We have a dedicated section on HuffPost called Sleep, and we've partnered with the Harvard School of Medicine Sleep Division. So we have doctors, we have psychologists, ranging from simple things like I always have a bath before I go to sleep, and there are hotels that don't have bathtubs. That's very unfortunate, but it's just great to just soak in. It's like, kind of put the day behind you. Do not take your devices anywhere near your bed. Never. Just charge them as far away from your bed as you can. You need a little space between the world of devices and clearing emails, etc., and the sleep time. The bath, I travel with candles, and I light a little candle. Sometimes I travel with very simple chiffon scarves that I drape over the dreadful art in every hotel room. I think there is a place, we should discover it. We should do a Google search for the place in the world where they manufacture hotel art.
We'll look at it.
So I think that it's difficult, and I think regimenting it for me doesn't work. But it's funny that the time of day that I enjoy the most, and I get very little of it now because children wake up and they make you get up really quickly. It's the luxury between being awake and being asleep. It's like at either end, actually, I really enjoy going to sleep, and I really enjoy slowly waking up, and actually find that that's the time. Like so many times, the answer to a creative problems come in those small windows. It's because I think your brain isn't fully occupied with the rubbish that it has to go through in the day, and so so I guess that maybe napping all the time, just like falling asleep loads of times during the day, might be good.
I'm starting to be a bit worried about what posterity will think of our talk. We were here to talk about technology with 2 of the brightest people we can find in the world to do so, and they talk about napping and sleeping. Shall I worry, or was it okay?
I think we're truly like pioneers. I really believe that. I feel that everybody who is here is already hyper-connected. Do you really want us to tell you technology is going to make your life easier, it's going to help you connect with people like you? You've experienced it, you know it, you live it. So it's like about the next stage now. And I'm amazed how much stuff has actually already been written about it, but it's not become part of the everyday experience that we have. I was reading yesterday about my new fascination around sports use of napping and distressing. And Stanford had done a research around sleep and sports performance 10 years ago. I found out about it yesterday, and I'm obsessed with the subject. So that shows that how long it takes sometimes for a good idea that will make our lives better to penetrate and become something that everybody it's never going to be everybody, but reaches a critical mass that can really affect people. And if you seriously look at the price we're paying for hyperconnectivity, it's just something that we cannot continuously delay as we're grappling with it. And after all, the ultimate reason people are here is to meet with other creative people, enhance their creativity, and there's incredible, incontrovertible evidence that that will help.
That the connection matters. Iain, you have your perspective on this post-era, post-after technology usage, sort of going back to ourselves?
Yeah, I think we all kind of internally, instinctively know it. You know, I think we're all aware of the limitations of being always on, and we're aware of, you know, we were talking before, I think one of the things, again, that we need to learn is, like, nobody teaches you about the manners of technology, and I think it's a huge thing. Like, you know, just people being civil with the way that they use technology. That's not only, you know, people texting over dinner, you know, which is awful. It's also about how people use it. And one other answer to your question from earlier, this 5-hour sleep thing really jumbles my brain. That if you don't send emails, it's amazing how much things quieten down. Like, if you ever go on vacation, the reason that you're not getting emails is not that people want to send you stuff, it's that you're giving them nothing to respond to. And I used to be a terrible person for always responding to everything. Well, kind of good in some ways, but terrible in other ways, because all it does is adds fuel to the fire, and they just multiply. So actually not replying to emails is really good. And
so we say basically stop using the technology. No, I think you had 2 words which were, sorry, if I'll go back to question, but I really want to ask this one. Instinct and intelligence. You all were using the word instinct, and we all associate technology to rationals and intelligence. And it seems to me something is popping up here. Sort of instinct is superior to intelligence?
Well, no, I wouldn't say superior. I think instinct, intuition, whatever word you want to use, holds an enormous amount of insights that that go beyond what we already know. After all, what is creativity? It's like transcending what is already known. And from that place of intuition, instinct, soul, whatever you want to call it, we are more likely to find that, to tap into it. And so you wanted to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, sorry, I'll change my mind. Okay, I was going to mention that it was, I think what you were touching on was a cultural change as well, the cultural expectation. I was actually, when I asked the question, I was asking about more than just email. It was sort of there's information everywhere, but that expectation to respond to because it's there, and filtering out that kind of need to constantly respond and always be part of. You need to be part of the conversation, but not all the time.
Well,
and it's more about listening.
I think some of that is the technology's fault. So I think as people who've invented technology, I think technology, a lot of stuff's built to be really needy. Do you know what I mean? People build it so that you have to interact with it all the time. And actually, some of the things that, there's a couple of pieces out there right now. If anyone's seen This Is My Jam, it's a really simple thing that basically says, what's your favorite piece of music this week? And you basically, instead of it tracking everything you're listening to all the time, you choose one thing a week. And I just loved it because it was so less needy than everything else that was keeping track of my music. And I think, as this I think this trend towards kind of how do we switch off and how do we figure out how to navigate this, I think people need to start developing less needy technology. And
This is my jam. I love that. I collect apps that help us disconnect or help us slow down. I love the app that they showed at the Apple Developers Conference, Do Not Disturb. How basically, here was a technology company putting out a feature, not an app, that helps you disconnect from the technology that they are selling you. You see, that's in the zeitgeist. Something is happening when a technology company does that.
There was a great campaign in the UK a few years ago that Orange, the mobile phone company, did, where they ran almost 2 campaigns at the same time with Great Things Happen when your phone is on, and great things happen when your phone is off. And it was a really same thing. Just like it was a little bit ahead of its time, maybe, but it was just like to say that is so bold from a technology company to go. Actually, there's other stuff out there too, but I think it makes us love them because it's like, oh, they get it, you know.
And just think of it: the technology companies, the marketing companies that are going to win the future are the ones that are tapping into the zeitgeist now for the future is going. So even if you didn't care about anything except winning the game, collaboratively, of course, just think of that. It's like being a little bit ahead. If you're just where everybody is, there's going to be no breakthrough.
As you were on disconnection, when you disconnect, you sleep. When you sleep, you dream. When you dream, you create. I don't know. For me, there is no moment in life I'm more creative than when I dream. For you?
What did you dream about last night?
Shall I really tell you?
Yes.
Last night I don't remember. What was my last dream? Yes, I was a fly in my last dream, and my problem is that I had to go at the end of a garden, and I didn't know how to do that because there were lots of birds, and I was very scared, and it wasn't a very nice dream. So I was sort of, what do I do with that now?
Do you write down your dreams?
I do sometimes. Sometimes they help me. Sometimes I dream of meetings that will happen the day after. Yes, I think dreams are a very creative moment, actually.
Very creative.
And you, as a real creative, but I'm not. Do you create when you dream, or?
I think when I was describing that kind of moment between being awake and being asleep, like that for me is the bit where you're not quite sure if it's a dream or not. I think it's actually way more controlled thinking than sometimes we give ourselves credit for. I think kind of crazy late night, middle of sleeping dreams don't. The world would be a very strange place if I started making any of that come true.
Yeah, this is such a fascinating conversation that I hope that you can write about it, blog about it. I mean, that's one of the things that I love is that conversations can continue online. And I will give you my email address, Arianna with 1 R and 2 N's @huffingtonpost.com. And you can send anything. And then if you want to keep doing it, we'll give you a password. But for me, one of the most exciting things about HuffPost is being a platform. I mean, we are a journalistic enterprise with 500 journalists, but being a platform is what excites me because then it means you can have all these voices from all around the world and amplify. And I don't care if it's original or exclusive. I don't care at all. You can give it to 10 people. You can put it on your own blog. What I care about is the conversation that happens when people have a wider distribution for their ideas. The fact that you never know if you had blogged about your dream of being a fly, you never know who in New Zealand might read about it and have the perfect explanation for you about what that dream meant.
I have my explanation.
You do?
Yeah, the way to go at the end of the garden was as a fly to decide to walk instead of flying, so the birds couldn't eat you. So, and all of the dream was finding that sort of, sometimes you're looking for solutions and you have to go really completely out of the flow. Anyhow. But before to part, I think we can take another couple of questions. Would you mind? I would like to make sure that people who wanted to ask questions had the opportunity. So do we? Yes, we have a last one. I take the last one then. Okay, I follow the orders. Last question.
Thank you. Hi, it's Jen Villalobos from Google Asia Pacific. And we were talking about redefining success, right? Measures of success. What examples of happiness do you have to redefine those measures? I mean, other than just career development, is it how many times you hug somebody, read something, laugh? Any ideas?
Well, it's definitely not a metric. It's more how you feel about your life and how you feel about yourself. And there is absolutely no measurement. This is in one area where there is no metric. And we all know it. We all know when we feel good. When we feel a sense of gratitude, for me, it's key. A sense of recognition of the blessings of life. Sometimes people feel that in the times of the most horrible circumstances. I was at a conference in Oxford of social entrepreneurs from around the world who are dealing often with truly awful things like sexual trafficking. There was a woman who won an award, and there was sort of this incredible sense of that she was living the life she was meant to be living. that she was doing exactly what she wanted to be doing. I mean, it was horribly difficult, but she felt on purpose. And I think having a sense of purpose about your life, whatever that is, only each one of us can identify that, is absolutely key to the definition of success. The worst thing we can do, and I have 2 daughters, so I constantly talk to them about that, who are just dealing with these issues, being in college, one just out of college. The worst thing we can do is buy somebody else's definition of success. You know, our cultures, our fathers, our best friends, and that's really a recipe for misery.
Okay.
I think a little bit like I was saying earlier with you know, when you've done something that's really great, you don't need the numbers to tell you that it's really great. I think happiness is probably the same. If you have to try and measure it, you're probably doing it wrong.
Okay, well, Arianna, thank you very much. Iain, thank you very much. I have just one last question. It's an exercise I like to do when I have the opportunity of interviewing people. Is if I had to ask you, Arianna, in 10 words or 20 words, what is your job? What would you say? If you had to say it in a very few words, how do you define it?
I would say my job is helping people connect and helping them disconnect so they connect with themselves.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Arianna. Iain? Thank you.
I'm not sure what my new job is exactly, but I'll give it a go. Putting interesting technology in the hands of people.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.